Today on the Hub Path podcast.
I would have to say in segment 7, when we do the future budget, it's one of my favorites. And I know in past POP roundtables, this can be a struggle for some facilitators for sure. But I really like it because it's getting them to think about now they're in a job making the kind of money that they want. So they've kind of gotten everything that they've been searching for. Now, what are they going to do with this money?
Welcome to the Hub Path podcast, where we discuss tips, tricks, and best practices for employment professionals in the employment services sector. My name is Kevin, and I'm joined today by Melissa Bulters, FedCap's POP Facilitator of the Year. In this interview, we discuss Melissa's experience in running the Power Possible workshop and her recommendations for employment professionals when referring to POP. Thank you for your time and attention, and enjoy.
Hello, Melissa.
Hi.
Really good to see you in person again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So the drive out here was, I love the rain, and I love coming out to Welland this way. It's quite beautiful, I think.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for making the drive.
So, we're here today to really talk about the power of possible. The reason why I thought it might be a good idea to meet with you. Well, first of all, obviously you are the POP Facilitator of the Year, and that's a big deal. And one of the things that I'm hoping is that the employment counselors that are out there are going to, from this conversation, learn a little bit more about what exactly happens in the Power of Possible workshops. And maybe be able to talk to their clients a little more about what exactly goes on in the Power of Possible workshop. So, yeah, I'm really excited for today, and thanks for hosting out here at the Job Gym, and we'll go ahead and get started. Let's say in 30 seconds or however long it takes, what exactly is the Power Possible, and what problem does it solve better than any other existing employment services program?
Okay, great. So typically when we're talking to people about Power of Possible, we'll talk about it as a workshop that can help you get results. So that could either be maybe an interview result, or maybe doing a resume for the first time, or maybe access to job leads. So oftentimes we try to talk about it's a session where you could come to, maybe get some results, spend some time with like-minded people, so everyone in the same situation as you. It's a place to look forward to going. So oftentimes when I do evaluations, that's usually one of the things on the evaluation at the end of a workshop. People will say, I looked forward to coming every day.
Wonderful.
So that's really nice, right? When you can have a spot to do that. And motivation, I think it solves a lot of motivational issues. So it's really good if people are sort of in isolation. They can come, they can connect with others. So a lot of my sessions have a lot of good connection. So I feel it can sometimes solve that isolation and that motivation.
Wow. Yeah, and that's wonderful. The idea that people actually, want to continue coming, and so it can be done over the course of a week or 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yes. So we have done both a 5-day model and a 10-day model. So, and both have benefits and challenges for sure.
Right.
So yes, it can be done over 5 days or 10 days right now.
Right. But I guess I imagine that trying to have somebody have the motivation to continue coming for 10 days, nevertheless, any longer than that, can be difficult. But if they're giving feedback and they're saying that it's something that they look forward to coming to after, the first couple of days, that's great.
Yes, absolutely. And I find actually surprisingly our 10-day one has sometimes better attendance than the 5-day one because it's shorter time frame. So they're only here for 3 hours, not 6. So sometimes that makes a difference, right? It's morning, they get to commit to their job search, and then they get to move on.
Beautiful. Oh, you hear that rain in the background.
Yes.
That's beautiful. All right. So who is the ideal participant for the Power Possible workshop, and who isn't?
Okay. So I would say anyone who's willing to commit. So typically if they're willing to commit to the 5 or 10 day model, they'd be sort of an ideal participant. I know we try to focus on the stream C's, right?
Yes.
However, I would say anyone who's job searching and they have the motivation to job search, but they just might not be getting that result. So they might not be getting a call back, or they can't find a job lead, or they're feeling frustrated. I think that's sort of the ideal participant.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if they have some job search barriers too, they haven't worked in a little bit of time, or maybe transportation is a barrier, because it kind of has them figure it out, right? To come to workshop, they have to kind of figure it out. Childcare, even if they have food insecurity, because we give a lot of snacks, we have coffee. So sometimes like just knowing that they can start their morning with that and other people sometimes makes a difference. So I would say if they're struggling a lot with life stabilization, maybe not the ideal time, but we always let them know when the next session might be, right? So they have the opportunity to jump into another one if that current timing doesn't work.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about the kind of youth unemployment rate right now. And, you know, like when I was a kid, like I had a paper route and everything. And then from there, I took a job at Dairy Queen. But when you're a youth, generally you have that kind of experiential learning where you're going to work at a place like a Dairy Queen or something, and you start to learn, you know, showing up 10 minutes late to a shift is actually kind of a big deal, because there's someone else there who you know has to stay later because you're not there, or something might be going on. But also, like if every once in a while you're going to be late for some reason or another, and you want to communicate that.
Right.
And I think the Power of Possible also kind of teaches some of those essential skills that, particularly when it comes to the youth unemployment rate, if they're not learning that experientially, maybe they can learn it socially through a program like this. That's great.
Exactly.
So what makes this different from a standard job search workshop?
I would say the curriculum design. So a lot of activities are designed to pull out the job seeker skills and strengths and their good qualities. And they might not even realize they have these good qualities, right? So oftentimes you may go to a resume workshop, or you may go to a different job search workshop, and it might be the facilitator just presenting the info.
Right.
This one is designed to have them sort of really dig deeper into what skills and qualities they do have that they can offer, and realize a lot of good things about themselves. So I think that's one of the main differences. That's
great. Yeah, I guess a 2-hour job search workshop is very different from a week-long time together where you really get to know each other.
And it's really designed to bring out that teamwork, right? So they're doing job lead shares with each other. They're helping find job leads for each other. My last group was really small, but the participants became friends. So, and they, like, the one was driving the other one to interview.
Oh my goodness.
So, like, I feel like the teamwork and just that support, especially because they spend so much time together, is really key. And it sort of makes it different than just maybe like a one-day session.
Right. So what does a typical week look like for participants?
So if we're in a 5-day model, then they're coming in and completing all 10 segments within 1 week, essentially.
Wow.
So we do 2 segments a day in a 5-day model. So it is 6 hours. So that one is longer. So, but it's only 5 days, right? So if they're going to commit to something, they might be inclined to do that. Where the 10-day model is Monday to Friday, no weekends, and then Monday to Friday, but it's shorter duration. So they're coming only for about 3 hours. They're getting their job search done for the day. They can stay later if they want to apply to jobs. So I find sometimes the shorter time frame might be good, especially if they haven't been working or they haven't been in like school or training. Sometimes the 10-day model works better in terms of that. But every morning starts off with like coffee, small talk. They're getting snacks. We're talking about like, their families, like we're getting to know each other. So every morning kind of starts off with that. Then we move into like a job lead share. So then they're sharing job leads. They're talking about job leads that might be good for each other. And then as counselors, like we'll share them too.
That's great. What should employment professionals know about referring their clients or their job seekers to the Power Possible workshop?
So Power of Possible could take the place of like 10 appointments with them, right? So especially if they're like stretched for time. So sometimes they can't see their clients until like 2 weeks later, or maybe 10 days later.
Yes.
So having them come to Power of Possible, it really will equip them with all the tools that they need to have that successful job search. Right?
That's great. Yeah. It's certainly, I've been kind of all over the network, and one of the common themes that I hear is the size of the caseload and how kind of overburdened a lot of the employment professionals are. And one of the things that I generally try to recommend is anything you can do in a group setting is going to kind of magnify your time by the nature of it being a group. But now even being able to kind of do a nice handoff to somebody like yourself who has not only like a one half hour or 2 hour session or something along that line, but like 5 or 10 days. That's huge.
That's right. And I tell like my fellow colleagues here, like if they're talking to someone about POP and I'm actually here, I'm not always here because sometimes I'm running a session in a different city.
Yes.
I will come and chat with them or tell them I'll call them back, right?
Beautiful.
Because then we can talk about all the benefits, right? We do host an info session, usually about a week to 5 days before we start session.
Right.
So oftentimes the goal for the counselors is just get them into the info session and then I can talk to them, right? I can determine what the benefits might be for them individually.
What does the info session look like?
So the info session, they come in, we talk about the benefits to joining POP, we talk about what it is, we give them the breakdown of the model, is it 5 days or 10 days? We talk about how they feel about job searching so far, so we usually get to sense if they're feeling frustrated, hopeful, excited, having a hard time, right? So then we kind of build off that. So it's nice because they get to see the room, they get to see where it will take place, right? They get to meet the facilitators. So they kind of get a glimpse of what they're signing up for ahead of time. And usually that works really well.
Great. Okay. So how should counselors stay in the loop once one of their job seekers is actually enrolled?
So definitely the case notes, I would say. So we do, like here, I do typically about 3 case notes throughout the POP model. So whether it's 5 days or 10 days. Yeah. So they can definitely read the case notes. And then we have an outcomes checklist at the end of session. So that gets uploaded to FCC so they can take a look at it. Sometimes I'll let the counselors know that it's there as well. But I often encourage the counselors to come in to session. Like they can come in and do job lead shares. They can come in and help with an icebreaker or an energizer. They can sit through a morning session. Way back when we were having some of the new hires, when they would start with us, they would sit through POP because it gives them a lot of good information to help with their clients too. So we would do that. It doesn't always work, right? Not every agency has the ability to do that, but they could come for one segment. So if I'm in a 10-day model, it's a couple of hours, right? So come and sit through segment 4, segment 7, right? And see.
That's great. What are some of the most meaningful successes or stories that really captures the spirit of the Power of Possible?
So last November, I had a group here in Welland, and I had 2 ladies join, and they became best friends. So they really connected. They were going through similar situations, and they really became close. So not only did they get all their job search information and success with that, they actually made some really good connections, right, in the community. And interestingly enough, these 2 actually work together. So they work at the same place, right?
Great.
So they became friends. They learned a lot about themselves, and now they work at the same place. So that's actually kind of exciting. So I always think back to that. So for them, it was a lot more than just resumes and getting interviews, right? They made like lifelong connections, and I think that's great. And then my last group that I was just talking about, how it was really small, but they really became like a good team, like helping each other out, driving to interviews, right? You see a lot of that connection in those friendships, and a lot of my groups stay connected after. So like they'll exchange emails or social media, and they'll stay connected after. So I think that's a really big piece too.
Yeah, I know that the notion of group work, it kind of, my understanding at least, is that it kind of came about as a result of these massive caseloads. And it didn't even start this way in employment services. Addictions is a really good example of this, where, we used to do the kind of one-on-one sessions, and then out of need, because of the rising caseloads and everything, we started to do group sessions. And then we're like, oh, these group sessions are actually really beneficial and really motivating for the people in the sessions, because they get to hear from other people, as opposed to just, one person kind of saying, this is how you ought to do things. But it's wonderful to hear that those kind of intrinsic connections are happening between the participants, as opposed to just, learning and teaching model that you might see in, say, a classroom or something along that line. That's great.
Absolutely.
So what is your favorite activity in the Power of Possible? And can you describe to the listeners what that activity is and what it looks like and the results of it?
Absolutely. So I have a lot, right? So this was really hard to pick. But I would have to say in segment 7, when we do the future budget, it's one of my favorites. And I know in past POP roundtables, this can be a struggle for some facilitators for sure. But I really like it because it's getting them to think about, now they're in a job making the kind of money that they want. So they've kind of gotten everything that they've been searching for. Now, what are they going to do with this money, right? So it brings out a lot of conversations about wages, what their future goals might be, what does it look like if they don't have a car, and then maybe they're going to get a car once they get a job, and maybe they need to do that, or maybe they're living at home and now they have to move, right? So it gets them thinking about the future goals, like what am I going to do once I get into the position that I want to be in? So lots of conversations. We bring in like the living wage. We have a conversation about that versus minimum wage. So that's one of, like, I think the most aha moment kind of activities for me. And I actually do like to do that one.
That's great. And that's a motivational interviewing technique in and of itself, right? Ideally, in motivational interviewing, you want to be able to describe ask a question that has them consider the benefits of working. And that's exactly what that's doing in the future budgeting. That it makes it so that they're actually sitting down and thinking, what will my life look like if I decide to move forward with this? And if you think about the kind of stages of change model, if somebody is pre-contemplative, that could certainly move them closer to contemplating and or actually taking action in their job search.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And then that goes into goal setting and SMART goals. So it's kind of a nice flow for the day. And it's away from the typical job search topics, right? Yeah. So it's kind of a really nice, I really like segment 7. You
said that you had a couple others that you were thinking about. Do you want to go over those briefly?
I do. I like segment 4 because that's all exploring interests as well. So we do the 9-dot like puzzle where they have to connect all the 9 dots with 4 lines. Okay. So that's kind of a nice energizer icebreaker, but it's really designed to get them to think outside the box, right? Because without extending the lines, you can't connect them all, right? So a lot of times they envision the box around the 4 dots. So I do like that one because that's the first time we get to talk about, no, you can try different things. You can color outside the lines. You can look for different industries, right? So it leads into like that interest exploration.
Perfect. Okay. So one of the things that I like to try to provide to the employment professionals is a little bit, not necessarily a script, but some advice on what exactly to say to the job seekers when they're describing the power of possible and trying to either A, I suppose, gauge their interests, or B, try to motivate them into coming to the power of possible. Do you have any ideas on what to say there?
So FedCap has like an information like flyer sheet that we use quite a bit.
Right.
So basically it highlights this program will teach you about interviews. You get to have an interview practice, networking and job leads, resume development, goal setting. So that's always a good starting point, right? Because if the job seeker is needing one of those, it could definitely be a hook, right?
Yes.
Oftentimes, like I try to stay away from like job search, pre-employment, because you want to be able to sort of engage with them and really have the conversation. Like, this is going to be great for you because you're going to get to do this, this, and this,
yes.
right? So just kind of having those conversations. You could have some like opening lines, right? Like you'll stop searching and you might start working if you attend POP, or
right.
This program will help you get results, right? So I've often been using that when I'm emailing job seekers. So in the past, many people have gotten results in terms of interviews, job leads, and training opportunities, because oftentimes I will have people come through POP and then they'll go on to take some training. So whether it be security, whether it be healthcare, if they have the motivation to go through POP, if we uncover that they need something else, then we can always move them into that like a little bit easier. So we really highlight what it is that might work for that person.
Great. And anything that we shouldn't say when we're trying to encourage people to come to Power Possible?
I probably wouldn't say you'll get a job, right? So that, because that's never a given.
Right.
But I can say most of my colleagues will talk about like they'll feel empowered and that they will learn a lot by definitely coming. I also encourage them not to say like we'll write their resumes and cover letters. So we help them, but we won't, like sometimes it can be me in a group of 10 or 12. So I cannot be writing 12 resumes or 12 cover letters every day, right? So definitely, I wouldn't promise that we're going to do those things, but that they're going to learn about those things.
That's great. Do you have any final thoughts or final words for the network?
I think POP is great, and I think if you can get your clients to take it, they definitely will benefit from it for sure. I definitely think they get a lot of motivation, confidence. They come back to you feeling a little bit more empowered, and your job search appointments will probably go a little bit easier too, right? Because they've learned so much in the time that they've been in POP. That's
great. Well, thank you again so much, Melissa, for having me here at John Howard Job Gym, and I really appreciate your time and putting this together.
Thank you so much.
Take care.